We are multi-dimensional creators, creating both our own personal experience and our collective experience, moment to moment.
Hello and welcome everybody to this week's Collective Imagination show with myself and the always entertaining, usually amusing, and at times mind-boggling Barbara Cards.
What can I say? Howdy.
How was your trip? How was your train trip?
Exceptional. Except we were delayed for about 11 hours. I thought it was significant that it was 11. But I didn't mind because, as I said to a few people, it was great views and good company, so who can ask for more?
So how long was the trip in total?
Thursday afternoon around 3:30 to Monday morning at 6 a.m.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be Sunday night at 6:45.
So you got left in different places that added up to 11 hours or in one spot for 11 hours?
Yeah, I'm happy to share it. It's just part of it is a little morose. When we were just outside of Dallas, I mean, you literally could see Dallas in the background, and if I jumped off the train, I could, in 30 seconds, run to the train station we were headed towards. We clipped someone, and I don't know what the details are, nor do I really want to know. But from what I understand, that's less rare than you would think from what the train personnel were saying. And they were trying to be discreet and not really talk too much about it either. So that delayed us because obviously they had to get the ambulance there to deal with that situation. And then the fire truck came, and then 2 police cars came. And it was such a narrow area that literally the cars had to back out. They couldn't even turn around. And because there was maybe...
Did you clip a vehicle or a pedestrian?
Somebody crossing the track. So then we were there for an hour or two. I honestly don't know because, again, I'm in the dining car and I'm not paying that much attention to time. But they had to interview folks and do their reporting and such. So that put us behind. And because we were behind there, then we had to let other trains, both freight and passenger, go around us at times just so they could stay on schedule. So we would have to be delayed for them to move forward, which got us into San Antonio at a time when a storm was about to begin. And so we sat in the actual station while it just rained. I felt it was kind of raining lightly, but I come to find later it wasn't. For many hours. I remember, if you go to my personal Facebook page, you'll see a picture I took of something called the Tower of Americas. And I took that at around midnight. A few minutes before 12 and a few minutes after. Because I'm sitting there bored, so I'm taking as many of them, figuring one of them is going to come out well. And so eventually we started moving sometime maybe after 1. And I went to sleep. And I woke up around 3:15, 3:30 because there were light pops coming in through the window. And it woke me up and I went, what is that? Because there wasn't a sound, just these light pops. So I look out and it's a lightning storm. And it lasted for more than an hour. And I grabbed my camera, which also takes video, and I just let it run. I changed.
Was it silent lightning is the question I have to ask. No thunder.
Occasionally, but you can't hear much of the thunder on the video. But yeah, occasionally, but it was not always. So how that worked, I'm not really sure. But
what day was that? That was the wee hours of Sunday morning, right?
No, that would have been, oh gosh, let's see, Friday I was in Chicago. Saturday morning?
Saturday
Is that what you just said? Yeah, it's Saturday morning my time. And it didn't frighten me, but I just kept thinking, my gosh, that is so close, because some of them were just flashes, and then you'd see bolts, and I was catching these bolts in my video. And I'm
this
thinking,
is in Texas.
Southern Texas. And I'm It just, I mean, literally, we were still in San Antonio, just outside the station, a few miles, and they stopped the train again. But because I'd gone to sleep, I didn't realize we stopped again. So we never left San Antonio until like after 5 a.m.
Okay, this might be a tricky question because you may not have been paying that much attention, and it also depends on how it lit up the sky. Did the lightning look like it was coming down from the sky, the streaks of lightning, or up from the ground?
Oh, that's a really good. I do know I saw some coming from the sky, but from the ground up, at the video will tell, but I don't know. It was just constant, so I couldn't tell you if any came from the ground up. I can tell you that these light flashes were really bright, but with no trails. So anyway, we were there with the lightning storm for quite some time, for more than an hour. I just don't know how long. And then we had to stay there because it created flash flooding. And that flash flooding apparently covered the track. And many trees came down and covered the track.
I'm sorry, but I've got Dee in the background losing her shit.
Some Heather in Paris. Exactly what happened to them.
So the reason we were trying to narrow down your timing is that this was obviously going on at the same time the stuff in Paris and Germany was going on.
Oh, well, I can tell you because I'll look at the video timestamp. But go ahead.
Sounds like it was.
It's not just that. Right after the lightning storm in Paris.
But the flash flooding is also what happened in Paris?
I just heard back from my friend in Paris, and right after the flash flooding in Paris, the lightning storms in Paris, they had flash floods in Paris and in Germany right after the lightning storms. And my girlfriend said there is no reason for those flash floods. It was nowhere near the rainfall that should have caused a flash flood. So we've got Paris, we have Germany, and we have Texas having massive lightning storms immediately followed by flash floods.
It didn't seem to me it was raining in it because all that I saw in my window were sprinkles. So but yet when it would light up, the street was full of water. So I don't know how it didn't make sense to me, but I didn't question it because, it was.
Okay, after yesterday's show, and I, Dee in particular, went on a hypothesis, so what if? And then she ended up putting out something on Transpicuous News yesterday. We looked at the locations of these, all the stories around all of these lightning storms and the flash flooding and, none of it adds up, for one. There's no two stories with the same facts. And we looked at it, we placed it on a globe as well as on a flat map and to see what was playing out, how it looked on the ground, so to speak. Because there is a hypothesis that even the Grand Canyon was caused by an electrical charge release from the planet itself. It wasn't something that came down and hit it. It was actually blown out from the planet itself. And there is this whole dynamic around lightning and different types of lightning that are more, I guess the only way to say it is discharges from the Earth. We looked at that hypothesis as well as one that this was completely artificial. But when you looked at it on both a globe and on a flat map, it was kind of all lined up. It was in connection with the timeline, the date line as well. There's something really interesting going on with all of this. And I'd love you to have a look at, slow down video footage as much as you can.
I will.
And just see if you can see what's going on.
I can actually go frame by frame when I get to some of the lightning strikes. But I'm looking at the folder now, and the videos that I took were from 2:56 a.m. to 3:50 a.m. And then I stopped, but the storm continued. I just thought, surely there's enough footage in there. Don't get crazy, Barbara.
Because what you just said about the flash flooding didn't make sense. It wasn't raining hard enough.
No.
As if the water also came up from the ground.
Well, it would make sense. I mean, I honestly can't say, but it wasn't raining that much. It was just a few sprinkles on the window. And, you know, when it would light up, you could see, but there wasn't really any rain. So 2:56 my time, or 3 a.m. would be 5 p.m. your time on Saturday.
I'm just going to give Dee these little notes. You were in San Antonio, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It was between, the footage that she took was between 2:56 and
3:50.
and 3:50 a.m. on Saturday morning.
But obviously it started before, because that's what woke me up, and it continued after I just stopped shooting.
Saturday.
So anyway, that created the flooding, and so we had to sit there for hours until they had to assess the track. And once they did, then they had to send trailers full of gravel and some workmen to remove the branches, and the gravel was to create a duct system, let's say, to make the water go down the rocks and away from the track.
Saturday morning.
And so we eventually left. I don't know when we left. We left a long time later. I don't remember. And again, that continued to slow us down here and there because we were so far delayed now. We were in everybody's way. But, you know, everybody took it, you know, on the chin, and they fed everyone for free, even the people in the club cars who don't get their food for free. And it was a really interesting experience. So, you know, I can't complain.
You've just added more to this little conspiracy that's brewing.
Well, one fun fact that I did not witness, but when I had whatever the next meal, I guess it must have been breakfast that day. It could have to have been lunch because breakfast we wouldn't have been going yet. The gentleman said that he goes, "Did you see that bridge that was washed away?" And I said, "What?" And apparently a whole bridge had been broken off of, you know, the two sides of a huge river, and was just floating down the river. And I don't know, so it had to have been in southern Texas, somewhere near San Antonio. So somebody can, I'm sure, look it up. And you know what also is interesting is the guy who got hit by the train. It's not in the papers anywhere. Isn't that interesting?
They rarely do put those in. But yet, I almost feel like telling her about Dumb Ways to Die. We've got, this is putting a humorous twist on things like this. It's an educational piece designed for kids, actually. And they ended up coming up with this really catchy song called Dumb Ways to Die. And it's so funny. I'm going to find it and play it for you. But it was done by the rail safety people, of all things.
They did tell us that it happens quite frequently, more so than you ever hear about.
According, into the chat room, someone's asked, so I have a question. Anyone know if these places are parallel or opposite each other? And Dee did include maps. Go and have a look at her Transpicuous News update from yesterday on removing the shackles. Where'd you put it? Yeah.
Oh, no, yes, yeah.
Yep.
It's dropped in the Unfuckers room. It's got the link in there.
So you'll see all the images that she's placed in there as well. And yeah, it's, if it's a globe, then yes, that's sort of like a ring around it. And if it's flat, you can see it kind of goes straight across in a line.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Wasn't where I was expecting the...
The topic of the show is the now moment.
Hang on a moment. There we go. Okay, the now moment, yeah. I've been questioning it a little bit. Because it's so, I mean, the whole New Age thing is just being the now, right? All there is this one now moment. But it's so intangible. You know, it's like this moment that's coming, it's coming, and oh, look, there it's gone. And
But if
really,
you're
yeah, go on.
if you're really specific, it's never coming, and then it's gone. It always is.
Yes. So there's either, it's kind of an either or situation almost. It's like you're either always in this place of no now, no time, no thing, and there is only what is coming and what has just happened. And you're in this, you're either pulled either way, because you're anticipating, expecting, receiving that incoming, or you're, I don't know, it just did my head in, basically. Try to think of it as this one now moment that is all there is, or is it this one now moment is the place where nothing is, and can you really be in it, or are you always kind of on the edges of it?
I'm totally following you. It's an interesting view. I've never thought about it in terms of that, but I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm not even sure how to express what I'm seeing in my head, and even if it matters, I'm trying to decide whether it even matters. But there is a physical internal perspective that changes depending on how I view it or where I sit with that concept. And I even was wondering whether the whole rhetoric, because it does seem to be a bit of a push in the new age for this just be in the now rhetoric, if in that now is actually a place of, it's like a dead zone where you are not a creator being, because nothing happens in that now, because unless you're either projecting, intentionally creating, which puts you, I guess you could say it's putting you into the future. You know, you're not in the now, you're in the future. Every time you send out an intent or a visualize or whatever, you're kind of projecting into the future. Every time you look at what's been, and in order to want to discern how to change it, you're in the past.
Well, think of it like a ripple. If it's energy, and the nucleus of the ripple is the now, and you, let's say, express a desire, that desire goes out like the ripple does. And so that would be what would go out into the future. But you had it in the now. The energetics of it are what are going outward. So you're still in the now, and you're creating in the now, but the energy that you've created goes out in the same way a ripple goes out.
I've got hands up.
Speak.
Both
Speak.
sides.
I'm actually trying to get your attention for him. I've got right. I'm going right.
What is manifestation?
You're asking me a question that I know you have an answer to, so why don't you just tell me?
What is manifestation? Manifestation is the realization that something is obtainable. Once you realize that, the universe then sets up the tools for you to get there. So you're kind of always in the now. It's not projecting where you want to go. So you've got to perceive it for it to exist. And then the tools are created for you to get there. And it's where we veer off those tools.
So what if these ripples I'm talking about are also in the now, but the desire created the ripple, but you've experienced the next ripple in, like, say, the next moment of now, and the next ripple in the next moment of now. So it's moving forward through the period of now, but the period of now, obviously changes. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like all creation takes place in that focus, in that moment of now, in that no space that you're talking about. And that everything else is just our mind, like doing a slideshow, remembering or thinking about what's going to come next.
See, I actually think that when we do that, like when we visualize, so I visualize a place I want to be in, and I'm putting myself there in every way consciously. Then to me, I'm there. And my consciousness is there. So my consciousness is actually in the future. My consciousness is... And I think it's tied into the idea that this is a virtual reality program. And if we want to go as far as to say that we are the programmers, which is another way of saying we create our own reality, then this is all completely programmable by us. And there is one school of thought at the moment with a lot of the quantum physicists who are looking into this. It's just a simulation idea. That really the program, the matrix itself, the simulation itself is only a couple of steps ahead of us. We are creating it on the fly.
We're just realizing that we're creating it.
But we're creating it on the fly.
That's how you do it.
But if it's only really that, if it's only just a few steps ahead of us, if it's taking the information contained in any now moment and creating the next one, then our ability to change this is not only incredibly powerful, it should be incredibly fast.
And I'm experiencing that. I'm thinking things and I'm turning, and then it's there. That kind of stuff.
I will go back and have a look at the chat because I know that's going crazy, but remember we talked about going in and like wiping the hard drive of whatever was, and some people were really nervous about the idea.
Maybe yeah.
Because I'm still caught between two place. I'm sort of caught in this sort of rock and a hard place, which is one that we are creating our reality, and yet I know in the hearts and minds of just about 99.9% of the population, this is not what we would create. So we would not create the destruction and the war and the devastation and the heartbreak and all the crap that's going on. So it's either one or the other is true, or both are true, which is that we are creating our own reality and this is what we created and it's all our fucking fault. Or it's being done to us and we're victims, something, we've been hijacked or we've been, whatever. And people run with one of each of those. But what if both are true in that we do create our reality, we are the ones writing this program, and yet there is a virus, as one way of determining it, that is messing with our programming. So both are true. In which case, putting a virus into the virus, or an antivirus into the virus, seems like the way to go.
I would say that this is the only place that a vaccination would be effective.
Say that again, sorry?
I said, this sounds like the only situation in my mind where a vaccination would actually be effective.
Yeah.
An energetic vaccination.
An energetic vaccination. Okay, now I'll have a look back through the chat now because I know you guys have been adding your comments.
While you're looking, Lisa, let me tell you a story of immediate creation. I posted something with a photograph online, or I posted it somewhere, something, but I'll share it here. When I was on the train and we were in St. Louis, I was in the dining car. It was dinner time. And as I see the city coming towards us, I wanted to take a picture of the arch. So I ran back. I said, excuse myself from the table, ran to my room, got my camera, and on the way back, where the arch is literally flush next to the train, straight up. And so I'm not back to the dining car at all. I'm just next to a window trying to take a picture of it straight up. And as soon as I kind of get everything in focus, we go into a tunnel. So I don't get it. So I still take my camera back to the dining car and think, well, all I have to do is wait till we come out of the tunnel and I'll just turn backwards and take it in the other direction. But it's not there. So the conductor, one of the associates, comes by and explains that we already passed it, and that, you know, it's because of the direction that the train is going, we're not going to be able to see it again. And so I just said, okay, I guess it wasn't meant to be. And then I said, so I guess I'll just try to pick it up on my way back. And when I said pick it up on my way back, the train stopped. The minute the words come out of my mouth, the train stopped. It started to go backwards on a different track, so that when we were going, and the sun was setting, so as we were going backwards on a different track, I literally can see the entire city in a beautiful scape, and I got every possible picture of St. Louis that you could imagine. And I'm cracking up, and the people that are not, you know, woo people, who are my dinner mates, are cracking up because they can't believe. They're the ones that said to me, you know, you say back up, and you say you're going to get it on the way back, and the train goes backwards. And and then what we found out was that the train had been diverted on a different track because there had been work on the main track. And someone forgot to switch the switcher. So the train just kept going on the alternate track we'd been put on. And once they realized we had to, you know, get into the station, we started backing up on the right track. So it just was a cool, you know, combination of coincidences. But to me, that was instant manifestation. I wanted a picture of the arch. We missed it. I said, no worries. I'll get it when I come back. I said, I'll get it when on the way back. And boom, we go backwards. So since we're on the topic, let me just share with you real quickly a couple of those photos so you guys can enjoy the coolness value of instant manifestation. I'm just going to show you from this view instead of opening them all up. But, oops. This is the train going backwards. So this is me taking the picture of the train as it's going backwards. And another one of it's going backwards. And these are just various pictures of the arch, which ultimately I just picked which one I liked the best, which was this one, and then I enhanced it a little bit and cropped out all the crap. And then the pictures just kept coming. Let's get that one in focus. Incoming. Incoming. That is the Cardinals stadium. And they're amazing pictures, every single one of them. And literally because the sun was setting, you've got the lights on in some of the photos, etc. I'm almost through them. And those are obviously all the raw ones, so some of them are crooked and you see crap in there, but I just go click, 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 and then figure out what I need to do to make them look right. Okay, so that's the end. So how amazing is that? I go from no arch to the most beautiful pictures of the arch one could imagine. So instant manifestations, which is going along with what you're saying. If we're creating, it should be instant, and I'm finding in many ways it is. So what are folks in chat saying? You're muted, kid.
I know, I couldn't find my controls anywhere. It was
I feel that way. Somebody needs to put controls on me.
Well, Bob's very much in the moment. Did you reverse time, Barbara?
I don't know.
And somehow Sheila manifested a person. Hang on, I missed that. I manifested a person on Saturday.
Ooh, that sounds like a story worth hearing.
Mm-hmm. I guess that means she got someone to turn up or show up that she wants.
Would she want to come on and share it, video or no?
Do you want to, Sheila?
Sure, I don't mind. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I was shopping with some friends, and I saw a lamp that was broken, and I wanted to purchase it for the shade. I said to my girlfriend, I need to speak to a manager. I think I'll go find one. I was standing there, and 2 seconds later, out of a staff door, a lady came, and I started to talk to her about this lamp, and I glanced at her name tag, and it said manager. I thought, how cool is that? Today, I needed some sand for a vase. And I wanted beach sand because I'm going to be placing shells in this vase. I said to my friend, I'm going to find myself some beach sand. She said, how will you do that? I said, I'm not sure, but I will find some beach sand. When I arrived home, I wasn't home 5 minutes. My husband brought out a bag and said, wow, what do we do with this Daytona beach sand that we collected in July of 2008?
I love that. Woo! See, look at you. You believed, Sheila, and you began to try to, actively create in your life, and you turned on a switch, and now it just is.
Yes, you're right, Barbara. And I have to say I appreciate it because both yourself and collective imagination has had a lot to do with that.
Thank you. I love your story.
I know all the credit goes to Barbara for that one. Because she's quite the manifesting mentor.
True, but Lisa, don't sell yourself short, my darling, because if it hadn't been for collective imagination, I would have never found Barbara.
I'm just along for the ride. We all know that.
Thank you. That's so nice.
It's warming up.
So going back to your theory then,
I don't know if I'd call it that yet, but yeah.
How do you feel that impacts us in our experience here then? Because you wanted to talk about the now moment, and obviously that there's an impact for you.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I just know it feels different at the moment. I said, I don't know if it was on the show or the one people a few weeks ago, that with everything that's showing up right now, it doesn't matter. Flat Earth, Mandela effect, strange weather, all of everything seems to be pointing more and more to this is a hologram, this is a simulation, or whatever. And I actually find that comforting in a way, empowering in a way. It's a concept that is tangible because everything else in terms of the spiritual rhetoric or New Age rhetoric or religious rhetoric or whatever, it's also intangible and fluffy. Whereas this makes it real in a way, and the terminology is something we're all acquainted with, and it feels like you can work with it better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it actually feels more empowering.
Yeah. when I really go there, I feel like I've got the ability to switch this thing off just as easily as I can push the power button on this thing. You know,
Well,
or bring up a
and
new
if
browser.
And if that's true, then I can wake up tomorrow morning and be, you know, in a completely different physical body, because why not?
Because why not? And
I mean, literally, like, you know, a 20-year-old Hispanic, I don't know, just anything, to be creative.
And yet, if I don't achieve that, why? Is it because there are viruses in the program? Is it because I can't quite leave this game and enter another one? The door is locked. Is it because I doubt, you know, because I truly feel that that's what we're capable of. That's what we should be able to do. I can change this program to something else. I can play Sims 4 or I can play Lara Croft.
Mm-hmm.
Choice is mine. And I can go from one game to another. That feels like what I should be able to do. So,
well, maybe there's like, when a programmer writes a program, there have to be like a series of things that say, you know, if-then statements. If this happens, then that happens. And if this happens, then that happens. And if you look at it on a flow chart, you can see how everything is like going around depending on the choices you're making. So if we're just a series of if-then statements, maybe the reason that we don't readily just change our environment and that tomorrow you will appear at my door because you've got from Australia to, you know, Arizona in just a thought, because the if-then statement, if you choose that, then something else has to change that we don't want to change, and we come into this knowing that, or come into it like the whole program, the whole illusion will fall away for you, and you just won't be in this reality anymore, or other people who were here will be gone, and you don't want them to leave, kind of thing. I don't know what those could be. I'm just saying maybe that's why we haven't been able to trigger into that level of manifestation, because if we choose it, then some other alternative will happen that we're not we didn't sign up for, we're not interested in.
But doesn't it bring us back to a conversation we had off air about a month ago, where I said there are times where it feels like we can create as much as we want as long as it's within these certain parameters?
Yeah, that feels like if I woke up tomorrow, 20-year-old black man, I'm not going to have a 27-year-old son. He just won't. There's no way he could exist. Stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And so somehow we are aware of that at a deeper level, that we're not, that's not at this surface level of consciousness, and we stop ourselves, or just, I'm throwing that out as a concept just to see where it goes with people.
Okay. Would you be...
But would I be interested in being a 20-year-old black man?
No.
I'm just teasing.
Would it be that if there are such things as parallels and dimensions or timelines or whatever, would you just jump into one where you are a 20-year-old black man?
Maybe. And maybe you don't even know it. I mean, for all we know, maybe we're doing that constantly and we're just completely not aware of it because it's seamless to us. Only when you're out of time, like that experience I had when I wasn't in time, maybe that's the only density or space where you would even have the ability to be aware of that. But once you make these choices and you end up in the other environment, you're not aware of what was before, so you'll never really know. It could be happening constantly with all of us. For all I know, maybe I'm actually you and I don't know it. Do you know what I mean?
Where does that leave me if you're me?
I don't know.
Katie says, I was recently hearing over and over to watch the movie Somewhere in Time. So I did a couple of days ago. In it, Christopher Reeves sets up the environment to go into another time frame and lays there and fully pours his intent into waking up into the other place. And as I watched it, I thought, hey, every night before I go to sleep, I'm going to do the same thing, because I really do have a sense that I am very close to emerging into a time and place that I've always remembered and always longed for. Nice. I remember that show coming up in one of the discussions, and I forgot about it. I've got to remember to watch that one.
I've got a story about manifesting.
Jesse's got a story about manifesting. Of course we want to hear it.
It's Barbara.
That's Barbara.
Hi.
Hello, how you doing?
I know you. You're the soil doctor.
Yeah, I play with soil and rotting things. Yeah, okay, so my manifesting story was when I was a teenager. I was practicing a bit with like astral traveling and pulling out of my body, and I was playing with that for a little while. And then somewhere in between that state and the asking state, so just laying there and asking for things, but I would kind of, I don't know, yeah, everyone can have their own choices, but I'd make a connection to my creator, and I would ask the creator for stuff. And when I really wanted it, it generally wouldn't come. So I'd ask for stuff and then kind of forget about it. So a couple of weeks later, it'd all of a sudden appear, and then I'd remember that I'd actually asked for these things. But I was never specific enough, because it would always be like different. So, I was lonely and I wanted a girlfriend. So I asked for a girlfriend, and then I forgot to ask for a girlfriend that wouldn't sleep with my best mate after she's been with me for 3 months. That sort of thing. So, we're infinitely powerful, but well, also you got to be a bit more specific in my practice of playing with manifesting. Not always girlfriend, could be anything, but I always find that I receive the things I ask, but never in the state that I imagine them to be. They're always there's always a twist or a tweak on what is what I asked for. Anyway, that's my little story about manifesting. Hey, Bob and Barnaby. All right, I'm going to go. I've got work to do.
Okay.
Have fun with God.
Thank you.
I hope that
Thank you for sharing that.
helps a little bit, or not.
I actually remember Jesse telling me a story. Excuse me, Bob, can we wait until if you want to come out, just put your hand up, darling, and I'll bring you out at the right time. That he got to a point where he was manifesting so easily and readily that it got scary.
And I stopped.
And he actually stopped. And I've heard that before from people, that it almost feels like they get scared of every thought that goes through their head, because it's like, shit, if I think that I'm going to create it. And I've been through periods like that too. It's like, oh my God, I've got to be so mindful of what I pay attention to, because I was just manifesting like crazy.
I've felt like that a few times too, because you don't always think of the things that you think of are not always things you really want.
No. And I find myself going, cancel that. It was just a pondering. It wasn't a request. Now, there's a couple of comments I just wanted to cover off. I recently hearing over and over that was that one. Is it true that you are the programmer, all right, but the you that is actually doing it is not located in just the 3D expression?
I agree with that.
Yeah, me too. That makes me wonder, what is our primary lifetime? I know in a parallel I had a daughter. I wonder if at some point I may wake up in that reality. We are the programmers, but we need to clean up and defragment the hard drive and clean out some viruses, which is what is happening in these times. That's a good way of looking at it, actually. Mm-hmm. Are we doing a defrag?
Matrix.
Yeah. Is that what all this shit is? Like
Maybe that would be a good doing, is to, do a defrag.
defrag.
It's like
And some people may not know what that is, depending on who's in the audience. So when you defragment your hard drive, when you save a file and the machine is clean, it'll just put it. Let's say it's a record. It'll just put it in the line, and then the next one in line, and the next one in line, until you go around and around and around and around. But somewhere along the line, you start deleting some of those files, so the computer will start filling those spots. And the more you do that, the more you have a little piece of your file here, 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 and here. And when it brings it up into your monitor, it pulls all those fragmented pieces together to display it. So when you defrag, it takes all those files and it puts them all in order again, so that they're all one piece and they don't have to be pulled from many sources to be viewed.
Ben's been coming over and writing notes on pieces of paper. Life is what we make it, but then we act like we hate it. We have an opportunity to be both divine in the now and oneness, and human 3D creator. Divine humanity is achievable within and without.
but without. Not without, but without.
Well, although this is related, but not directly, this is my second train trip where all of the people that not all of them, but a large portion, maybe 80% or more, reminded me both physically and personality-wise of other people that I've had in this lifespan. So, and I kept recognizing them as other characters in this play of life that I've been living. And I just thought, the first time it happened when I went to San Francisco, I thought it was part of the translation tour and it was part of all the magic. Now that it's happened a second time, I thought, how interesting is it that these same characters with just slight differences keep coming up? Who are these people? They're like, day players, They just get pulled in when I need filler people who have a little personality. But I just thought that was interesting, and so I'm trying to pay a little bit more attention to who's coming in, because so many people remind me of other people that I think it goes beyond pure coincidence. So maybe if this is a program or a virtual reality of some sort, that it's just pulling these characters and just changing a few features just like you do and repopping them into your existence to fill that space that you've asked for and whatever it is that you've created.
Bob's written, for me, that means wiping the old slate clean by doing the healing work of childhood trauma, deprogramming from social and cultural conditioning, and most importantly, removing all traces of codependent behavior from my existence. Sorry, I'm being... What?
Remember I was seeing like fucking the mold?
Oh, yeah.
Certain types just across the board. What Barbara was just describing exactly.
The background people.
Well, yeah, just noticing more and more recognizable, like they're losing.
What's he saying, Lisa?
I'm not sure in terms of how it relates. Do you want to come over here? Because people can't hear you anyway. And I'm just
agreeing and backing up Barbara's
He's agreeing with you.
theory.
I'm not sitting next to you.
I like him already.
So he's taking over my role. Just rambling.
Sorry, guys.
I'm going to have to get a bigger couch and just make them sit next to me next time.
My mum will be here soon. She'll play more the fucking
Okay, where were we? I forgot. I lost my track. But this idea of defragging, or whether it's sort of like a few things that needs to happen. One, we need to defrag our own program. And secondly, antivirus, vaccination, whatever that is, into the interference program. It's a multifaceted. I keep going back to, because it was so profound for me on a personal level, that whole vision I had back in 2009 or 10 about the moon. And it's what triggered all of my research into the moon. I'd never thought about the moon other than it's there, it's up every night, it's a satellite, blah, blah, blah. Hook, line and sinker, whatever we were told about the moon. The existence, what it revealed was the existence of this net that I'm finding is more and more relevant as we go into these conversations about programming and artificial reality, because it served two purposes. It read the collective, it read our intentions, it read our collective consciousness in order to then figure out what to send back into the collective consciousness. It was a two-way system. And it was absolutely a net and a trap. It looked like a huge fishing net that had just been cast from the moon. And the only thing in it was the planet. All of these conversations, these visuals, these new information that keeps coming out, just keeps pulling me back to it. And at the time, when I had that, what I saw, and I know you know this story, but was that everybody on the planet sending love consciously, intentionally into the net. And that love vibration went back to the moon and literally blew up the base. It just fried the whole computer system network. It just fried it all. Now, whether maybe love is the answer in that sense, because it's certainly not a frequency that's based in that vibration at all. And as a doing, we have not done that specifically. We've played with that concept a couple of times over the years that we've been doing the show, but we haven't really specifically done that. And it feels like a good place to start. I don't know. What about you?
I like it. I actually think that's a really great thing to consider for the doing.
What do you guys think? Those in the chat room.
Yeah, what do you guys feel? I like it. Great idea. Yes, love always works best.
If it's done with the love and the greatest intention for all, what harm can we do? Did you want something, sweet? Okay. Now, Bob, did you still want to come out and share something? Yes. Okay. By all means. You.
Just problems with the technology. Can you hear me okay, Lisa?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
I can, but I have to ask.
Yeah.
I have to ask you a question before we go any further, because I was on the show, and I was a participant in the background yesterday's show, and I see you don't have a shirt on, and I'm just dying to ask you what's up. Is it like really hot, or you just are a free man?
I have the body of a god.
You're muted, Betty. Somehow you muted yourself.
No, he's not muted, but your videos and audio is not coming through so good, Bob.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Heard that, yep.
Can you please tell me it's from the waist up only? And if not, maybe just keep talking.
Can you hear me?
Uh-oh, he's just moving forward. Uh-oh. Yes, I can hear you, Bob. I can hear you, Bob.
Okay. And I'm not.
We're not catching you, Bob. It's cutting out. We're only getting a couple of words and then you stop, and then it cuts out. Okay.
Yeah, I think we may have to try you again in a few minutes because it's not working. Oh my gosh, there's me. That doesn't usually happen.
There's what?
I'm seeing myself, and usually I see you. All of a sudden, I'm seeing myself. I guess I'll have to pin you again. There we go. Do you know there's a phrase in America when you pin someone, you like go steady, and the guy gives a girl his like college pin.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a weird phrase. Oh, let me pin you. Who knows? Maybe in the last life, we were more than friends. Okay, moving on.
You're funny. You can. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm catching up on the chat room. Although Jed's saying if he was on a yacht in the Whit Sundays, he'd probably be naked too. If you have no idea what, just do a Google image search for Whit Sundays, and it's gorgeous. And there are probably a lot of naked bobs up there on their boats. Okay, I think everybody thought that this was a good idea. It's someone not muted.
Who's got their audio on? Thank you.
Just did a reboot.
Oh, he's back. Maybe leave the video off, Bob, and just do the audio, and it'll come through clearer.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, propagation of Wi-Fi over the ocean is not the best way to communicate.
I can hear you much better now.
Yeah. In response to Barbara's question, I live on my boat, which is my sanctuary, and I don't wear clothes till I go ashore, and then not much. And I don't own a pair of shoes. I'm off the grid. I've got a wind generator and a solar panel. I catch rainwater. I don't put detergents on my body. I wash in the ocean. And so I'm doing as much as I can to stay grounded in nature. And if it's okay with you, Lisa, I'd like to carve out about 5 minutes just to share for you what it feels like for me living in the now, what takes me out of the now, and how I manifest things in my life. I'll keep it brief, but I would ask that if you've got any questions, please keep them to the end because it breaks the flow, if that's okay with you.
It's fine with me, yep.
Okay, and I'll try and stop Barnaby from barking, but he likes to join in the show as well. It's as much of his event as mine. So I'll just set some ground rules for me. I am master and commander of my life. I don't like the word sovereign because sovereign brings up images of fat old English women with crowns on their heads. But I am a ship's captain, and as a ship's captain, when I take a vessel out, I am totally responsible for everything that happens on that vessel, the safety of the vessel and the safety of the lives of the people on that vessel. So all I did in my life was take that concept and apply it to the whole of my life. I am master and commander of my whole life and take full responsibility for everything that happens in my life. And so from that posture of being the boss, if you like, in my life, I thought, well, what's my life purpose? So, okay, I'm boss, I'll set my life purpose. So I set my life's purpose to be to simply find my own truth. So bang, I got the big one out of the way. And then the second one was, how do I want to experience my life? So I set my own conscious life intention, which is, I am here to have, and then a gentle, joyful, loving, and abundant life. And it is that first part that I am here to have is my direct command and also my address to the universe to deliver whatever I commanded it to deliver, which is gentle, joyful, loving, and abundant life. And now that is how my life unfolds. I've got that command in place, and that's how my life unfolds. And anything that I manifest in my life has to fit into that gentle, joyful, loving, and abundant command, because that's at the top. So that set the scene. How I stay in the now. But for me, being in the now is, for me, there's some essential ingredients. I have to turn my mind off, because my mind is just a tool that I use when I choose. And like thinking is headspace, and knowing is heart space. And the concept of, for me, being in the now is living in heart space. So I've turned the mind off. There's no thinking going on. And the best way I can describe it is I'll wake up in the morning and I'm giggling. And if I'm not giggling, Barnaby will come and tickle me or lick me. And so I consciously start the day with a giggle. And then there are various possibilities before me about what I can do during the day. And I just go through the day like a butterfly, flitting from one event to the next event. You know, I don't plan my day anymore. I spent my, all my working life doing that. And so now I'm just going with the flow. Whatever pops in, to my awareness is what I head towards next, with no expectation of an outcome. I don't wake up in the morning and say, well, today I've got to achieve this, I've got to achieve this, I've got to achieve this. A fair while ago, I realized that I am a human being and not a human doing. And just by being, I am doing all the doing I need to do just to simply be. So, and I'm staring at my personal mantra, which I've got plastered all over the boat. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond a measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And I see that first thing every morning. And the only thing that knocks me, staying in the now. If I'm fearful, I can't be in the now. So I had to do the childhood work to get rid of the inner soul belief that I had that the world was a dangerous place, because I had a very violent childhood. And so I had to do that work to get to the state where I believe that the world is a loving and safe place. So I don't carry that fear anymore. Also, dealing with the universe, I've noticed that the universe loves precise language. And if anything I ask for is ambiguous, then I'll never get what I ask for. So by deprogramming myself from codependent behavior by the use of I statements, or for me, or just sharing my story, my truth, for that is all I have, I have developed my own way of manifesting things into existence, but they always align with my conscious life intention of, I am here to have a loving, gentle, abundant, joyful life. And classic examples, and it's hard to explain this, Lisa, but when I go to the store, the supermarket, there's a parking space that's like my favorite, and it's always vacant. It's always vacant. I've even taken different routes to get there to try and trick the universe so that it's not vacant when I get there, and I've noticed that the universe has got a great sense of humor. And the other one I do for fun, yes, Barnaby, is when I'm driving through town, I just imagine like a green glowing LED on the inside of my skull. And so I've got this green LED glowing on the inside of my skull, and I just drive through town and every light is green. And the most recent one was, I was at the shopping mall the other day, and it was a Thursday, which is the day the local paper comes out. And I thought it's about time I read the Whitsunday Times, probably about 6 minutes since I read the local paper. Now, I didn't have a bean in my pocket, I didn't have a bean in my pocket, but I knew I was going to get the paper. So I walked towards the newsagent, and there, a metre from the doorstep to the newsagent, lying on the pavement, was a brand new $1 coin. So I picked it up and walked in and bought the newspaper, which cost $1. And so, and it's hard to explain, but it for me, Lisa, it was a leap of faith. And it happened the night I bet my life on following my intuition. And this is a quick little story. It was about 8 o'clock at night. I was on the boat with Barnaby, and it was on his Facebook page, and all of a sudden the lights went dim. And I looked at my voltage, on my voltmeter, and they were okay. So it wasn't, a physical, a mechanical thing. And I couldn't breathe. And then on my left-hand side, I could sense this black, silky, ethereal presence. And I thought, hello, mate, the Grim Reaper has come back. And I've faced my own death several times in my life. And I thought, well, maybe this is it. It's all over, Red Rover. So I just typed into Facebook, hey, guys, if I don't post anything in the next 30 minutes, can somebody call the Volunteer Marine Rescue and get them to come out and get Barnaby? Because, he's my prime concern. I didn't want him to have to end up eating me to to survive. And so I'm sitting there, and in these moments that I've noticed of being close to death, time stands still. Time just stretches. So I'm sitting there wondering what to do. A brief instant of panic, and then I just checked in with my body, walked up the stairwell, jumped into the ocean. This is 8 o'clock at night. It's dark. I'm surrounded by mangroves where crocodiles live. Sharks feed at night. So I'm lying on my back in Pioneer Bay, looking up at 2 full moons, because that's what I was seeing. And then all of a sudden, I could breathe again. And I could breathe again. And then that was the night that I made the leap of faith to totally trust my intuition and follow my heart. And since I did that, since I moved to living in heart space, I have that faith that I am the only expert on my life. That my intuition is always right. I just follow my heart. And as a 64-year-old guy living his dream and knowing that I made it manifest. Hey, I started off as a fitter turner in the Dark Satanic Mill. I didn't even know that the Whitsunday Islands existed. But anyway, that's my story. And everything I manifest, I do by I'll think about it, and then I create a picture. A picture appears on the inside of my forehead, which is like my own movie screen, and then it becomes a collage, and then it becomes a movie and then I start experiencing what it feels like to have this whatever in my life. And once I've got that feeling and I can feel it in my heart, then it just goes out there, and then the next day I'll trip over it. It's that fast now. Okay. Well, I hope that helps. And any questions? Because
I have one.
For me, it's I'm starting to get a reputation of on the internet as being what I call a spiritual mechanic, because I've spent all my life in engineering, and I've just picked up little tools that have worked for me. And I just got a new nickname for Barnaby, the 4-footed philosopher, because he comes up with some crackers. So, okay, I'll shut up, and I'm available for questions. And I love this stuff. For me, this is the most important conversation any human beings can have. When everybody finds their own truth and lives their own authentic self, then we can exchange real data between real people and not conditioned, indoctrinated souls. Okay, I'll shut up. I promise.
Well, I have a question for you, Barnaby.
Well,
can you hear me, Barnaby?
Yeah, my name is Bob.
Bob.
Barnaby.
Sorry.
I'll bring the dog over.
Sorry, Bob. It's been a long time, but I have a question for you, Bob. You were talking about how you stay in the heart space instead of the head space. So my question to you is, how do you stop your mind from thinking? That was a question that came up, I believe, on last week's show.
Yeah, well, I developed a little regime. It was after I was introduced to Shakti Gawain and creative visualization. And again, I have a very mechanical approach to life. So I developed a little inner mind video. Now, come for a walk with me. I'm walking down this grey tunnel like in a James Bond movie, and I can hear the hum of the air conditioning and the fluorescent lights are flickering overhead, and I come to a big glass door and they slide open, and this is the computer room, and I can hear the satanic hum of all the hard drives buzzing away. And over on the right-hand side on the wall there's a big red switch, and there's a public health warning notice above the big red switch. Please be aware that thinking can seriously damage your well-being. And so I just, you know, in my mind's eye, I just take hold of the big red switch and go kerclunk and turn it off. Now, I played that in a video for months and months and months and months, not intentionally, just as, and now I don't even have to play it anymore, because it gave me the realization that I am not my mind, and that my mind is just a tool that I use when I choose. And so now I treat my mind like I treat my Barnaby the dog. When he gets feisty, I throw him a stick. And being a good parent, when my mind gets feisty, I throw it a stick. I give it a job to do. And so off it goes, and it's happy doing what it's here to do, which is, you know, be right and find answers. And so it was the disassociation from believing that I'm only my mind. I'm not my mind. My mind is just a tool. And that's what works for me, Barbara. And that's all I can say. You know, all I have is my truth, my story. I can't give advice. I don't give advice because everybody's on their own journey. And the only thing that I can say is the challenge is to find what works for you, and for everybody to set their own conscious goal. Now, my conscious goal is simply to be content. You know, I'm no saint, you know, but, you know, I'm not rich, I'm not perfect. I drink too much, I smoke too much, my diet's crap, I don't exercise, but I am content. You know, and after 20 odd years of fighting depression and suicide, you can't imagine that feeling that I have. You know, I just feel content. I hope that answers your question.
I have one too, Bob.
Yeah, go, Lisa.
On that night in question when you went and jumped into the water, you said you saw 2 moons.
Yeah. I can't hear you.
As in your vision was doubled and you weren't, and your body was being affected, or there was...
It was the night. No, it was the night of the full moon, and I believe it was just, I was experiencing double vision from lack of oxygen. You know, I was on the way out, basically. Don't go to the light. No, don't go to the light.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you for that, and thank you for sharing the whole story.
Good on you. Good on you. Lisa, to share this stuff with other people, because look, hey, I'm just a simple bloke, and if I can manifest my dream, I believe everybody can. But it's the inner road, and for me, okay, I'll shut up. I'll roll myself. I could talk for weeks, days, years, millennia on this, Lisa, but all I can share, and this for me is important, going around the internet and contributing to so many shows, like you're doing what you're doing, and that's your gig and that's your passion. It's part of your truth and your story. Same as Wayne Dyer, Max Egan, you know, wherever you go. Santos Bonacci, all these people, they've got David Icke, you know, all these people have got their own gig, their own passion, and that's what they're doing. Now, for me, where I'm coming from, because all are equal, and all from the tribal people in Australia who believe that all they have is their story and they're trying to live a good one. So what I see is everybody has their own story, but in the first instance, the only person that story is valid for is the person sharing their story. And so I believe the way forward is for everybody simply to sit in a circle with a talking stick and share their truth and share their story and share their experience. And as they share these elements of their life, some of those elements will resonate with other people in the circle who are listening with their heart and not hearing with their mind. And so that way we share our tools and experiences, and we all evolve and grow together. Because for me, there are no gurus. I'm the only expert on my life. Okay, I will shut up. I promise.
Actually, you just described the Opal Tour, for one. And Bob, people would like to be able to connect with you on Facebook. Can they find you there, and how?
Yeah, I use Barnaby's Facebook page. So it's Barnaby Eden, Eden, and we're friends you're friends with him on Facebook.
Yep. I am. All right, once again, thank you, Bob, and well, I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for your time, your attention, which is all anyone has, and also the opportunity to share my story, because that, in the final analysis, is all that I have, my story.
It's all we all have.
Copy down.
Thank you, and bye to Barnaby. You know, that was one of the most profound things that kept happening on the tour, was when people had the space to share their story with people who were lovingly, non-judgmental, receptive, supportive. It changed people, because for many of them it was the first time they'd had the chance to do that. You know, no family, no friends, no anybody, no network in the physical to talk to. And it was really beautiful. You okay?
Just sneezed. Didn't want to do it on the air.
Okay, so in terms of doing, I wanted to ask Linda something, because Linda had a comment earlier, and I think she was asking me, do I really believe there was a net? Do you want to clarify, Linda, if that was a question or a comment, or if you've got something?
Yeah. I don't have a direct answer as to whether there is a net surrounding the planet or whether the moon is a transmitter. I know that's a theory a lot of people believe. But if we send love to that, would we not be strengthening it if it is there, or creating it? That was my concern. That's all.
Well, I can only go by the experience that I had. And the experience showed me that love was the counter frequency for it. That it would neutralize it.
Well, that would make sense. Like there is something there.
Because it wasn't loving and benevolent, that's for sure.
You know what's interesting is that for the first time this morning, I took a photo of the moon with this camera that I have and posted it, and we've been talking about the moon, and now we're talking about a grid, and the other photo I posted this morning is a photo of the city of Dallas reflecting off of another building with a grid on it.
If it is not love, then it can only dissolve or transmute it. Yeah. That's what I felt, that it was the counter frequency.
Didn't John Lennon say, all we need is love? Da, 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 da.
Compassion.
That's a different frequency.
It's a completely different frequency for me. And if anything was going to perhaps strengthen or empower it, compassion might.
Yeah, because you'd have tolerance for its alternative. Even joy and love are subtly different frequencies. I found that, and I can tell, that they just feel different to me. But just It's ever so slight.
Yes, compassion is a quality of love. Can you feel compassion without love?
Yes, I believe so.
That's what I was feeling.
Yeah. I can have some compassion for someone's circumstance and not love them.
I think you can. All right. Well, I think everyone's on that, thinking that too. I need a bathroom break before we have a doing. So, have you got anything
Story?
with for 30 seconds?
No, I never have any stories. By the way, I have to tell you something. You see, like it's a prevalent shadow right here that I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and I'm thinking, ooh, my third eye.
Yeah, what's going on there?
I don't know, my third eye, I guess. I don't know, but I think it's kind of cool.
Is it not you? Is it only there in the camera?
No, I think it's because, I can see it that way too. I thought it was just, the lighting. But I don't know, maybe it's do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah, it looks like you got a little dent.
I know, doesn't it?
No, that's too.
Okay,
Actually,
so
you know what? My 8-year-old said to me the other day.
what?
She said, "I wish I had 3 eyes." She said, "I wish my third eye was like there and visible like my other 2." Just
Wow.
was I really okay? Cool. She said, "Yeah, feels like it should be."
She feels really like the closest to a crystal kid I could think of without, I'm not sure she is one, but she's just so in tune. And she's like a 40-year-old person in a kid's body, with her thought processes.
Oh, she comes out with some beauties.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so you do your thing, and I'll share something fun here. A couple of synchronicities. Okay, I have, again, out of the blue, I was looking for my birth certificate so that I could use it to get a passport, and needed to bring it with me here just because. And in the process of looking for it, I ran across this old news clipping. And let me share my screen just to show it to you. I did post it on Facebook a while ago, but it's the story that's cool. Actually, let me see if I can open this. It might take a moment. Oh, good. It didn't take very long at all. And what's neat about this is this is a picture from when I was like first grade, and this is me over here, and this is the girl I did my little routine with. And so I sent it to her, and I tagged her in Facebook. All I really said was, I found this clipping when I was looking for my birth certificate. Enjoy, Robin, or something like that. And then Robin writes this, which is the synchronicity. Memories from Cole's studio. Cole is the name of the place where we used to take tap dance lessons. I'm in the front. My tap partner is on the front right. She just sent this to me. Thanks, partner. True story. Last Saturday, Jeff, who's her husband, was in the shower, and he yells out, "What is that noise? Are you dancing?" And she said, "Why, yes, I'm tapping." I can't see what that says after that. I think she says, "I'm tapping too." That was the last hurrah. I've been sick ever since, blah, blah, blah. So she tap dances for the first time in, 30, 40 years. And then I sent her this picture. That for me not only is a synchronicity, but it shows the collective. Because I've always included in my meditations that, use me, take advantage of my resources or whatever I have available. And as long as it is divine and of good and it's not going to harm anyone or cause any discontent, etc., whatever I say, or I usually think it. So there's no real words to it, but it's just the energy of I'm available to, be utilized in the same way that I ask for things to come to me. I'm happy to help things come to others. And so then out of the blue, I find this clipping when I'm looking for a birth certificate. So I thought that was really cool. I love that. And of course, I am very cute here, so, you know, I can't resist sharing. And there you have it.
I can't see it well enough to see you in there, but I'm going to have to look at it on Facebook.
I swear it's me. I swear.
Wow. Okay. So, just sort of get an idea of where we're going to go with this. Is everybody okay with visualizing a net or tuning into the net that is there and sending it love and compassion or whatever feeling you feel is appropriate, and just knowing and potentially seeing it going, that energy sort of infecting the whole net, the whole grid, and then going to its source, wherever, whether it's a computer console or a hard drive or the moon or, you know, wherever it takes you, and neutralizing it. Now, for you, that might be blowing it up. That might be just wiping it clean. It might be just neutralizing, but
I can kind of see it dissipate into nothingness.
yeah, the grid just disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
Dissolving.
I'm cool with that. Is there any way we could include some defrag of the program in there somewhere?
Well, what do you think needs to be defragged? Us? The Matrix?
Well, that's a good question, because I'm thinking of it in terms of this. If we have intents and we're sending them out, and there is a defrag in the program that's affecting us, the program that may or may not be the collective program, then it's interrupting that flow. Because again, all those pieces have to be pulled together, and maybe they're just not being pulled together properly. Because I like the idea of defragging it so that everything is whole again. The pieces are whole, and maybe we're instead of files, it's humans. You know, it's consciousness levels, things like that.
Okay, we're getting mixed responses. Sounds great. I don't believe, see, or feel that there is. Oh, okay. So Jed doesn't feel that there is a net or a grid, so he's not going to try and imagine it. I can tune into its non-existence, though. Okay. Not sure I'm comfortable with this one for some reason. Defrag the moon.
Yeah.
An unreadable file needing to be deleted. Cammy missed the first half of the show, and she's, what if one believes there are two grids? Well, that's another way of looking at it, that there's an organic, for want of a better word, grid, and an overlaid synthetic grid that's interfering with it. Because there is, I mean, the collective consciousness, it's one of the ways I see the collective consciousness is as a grid. It's a network. It's like a brain. It's a neural network. And it's our collective brain. When connections are made, when intentions are set, when desire is put out there, it's like synapses going off in this huge collective network. It's kind of like the difference between routine and rhythm. You know, like to me, rhythm it's a natural flow, whereas a routine is artificially imposed based on a clock. A rhythm is a natural flow with nature and your surroundings and all of that, and the people around you. It's almost like this neural brain is the rhythm, and a symmetrical grid is the routine. Okay. Just love and empowerment. How about we just remove anything that stands between us and the full realization of our core being? Yep, our combined internet. Solace is our collective oversoul, I feel, in some way, shape or form.
So ultimately, if we consider it as a net, the goal is to infuse it with love so that it is no longer existent, so that there's no barrier between us. What's the goal? Because maybe what we can do is focus on that goal, and then for those who want to see it as a net can, those who want to see it as something else can. But ultimately, once we break that down, what would be the purpose of that?
Okay, I'm going to be a bit confronting for a second.
Yeah.
Bob mentioned the quote earlier about our greatest fear is our power and what we're actually capable of. And there are times where we've gone to do doings and people have gotten frightened. And I feel like that's coming up a little bit too. And as long as there's hesitation for, and I'm wondering whether it is triggering fear.
So maybe then the goal is to allow us to feel our full power. And in order for us to do that, for some it would be removing the grid. For others it might be something else, whatever they would visualize. If the intent is then to allow us to actually be the powerful beings that we are, to remove the fear, to remove any obstacles, to, if it's grid-based and it's a neural network, to neutralize those things that are stopping us from achieving that. Something like that, so that everyone could feel a way into participating. What do you think?
Okay, I really want to hone in on this a little bit, because this may be a clue as to what we are collectively frightened of. What are we collectively frightened of? And Jed said fear and awareness are not the same. No, but awareness of what?
That's a good question. If he doesn't think there's a grid because he perceives things differently, that awareness that there's no grid is awareness of what? What is he then aware of that we're not seeing? Maybe he wants to come on and say.
I'll jump in. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I just, look, it's just, a lot of our discussion yesterday is all this, we can only talk from our perspective, like our individual reality and then where they meet. So all for me, I'm saying is, from my perspective, I don't see or feel a negative net or trap or stuff like that. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to use my creative power to imagine that. I don't have any fear of it because it doesn't exist. So I'm not going to use a creative power to imagine such a negative thing out there so that I can then uncreate it. So that's just my perspective. That's why I said I can just help hold space and intent on in a way that such a negative thing doesn't exist. I just hold from the space of something else. So that's all I was saying. But yeah, I just want to make clear too that I think, and a few of the guys are commenting, saying it's not fear for them that's stopping them. And I'm saying, yeah, it's the difference between fear and awareness. And what we're really, as Bob said, what we're really afraid of, really, ultimately, and our shadow has the most power in it. Our shadow is the compressed light of our true being, and where our ego self is hiding us from that. And we're afraid, as he said, ultimately what we're really afraid of is God, is source, is us, our true selves, our true nature, and the power of the blindness, the blinding light to our ego mind. That light is blinding. And a lot of people are like, or I want to be close to God, or I want to experience, or whatever, whatever you want to put, and just use that saying, I want to see God, I want to see God. And then it's like, if they get a glimpse, they freak the shit out normally and go, oh my God, okay, like, no, turn it down. No, maybe not quite now. So I think if there's a fear to tune into underlying all, it's the fear of that. And so I go, a lot of the others said too, and I kind of go with what Linda said about just maybe focusing on dissolving whatever it is in a sense that stands between us and our own true authentic nature or our true authentic self. And that way, however each individual feels or visualizes experiences that, we're still doing that as a collective. It's helping the collective because we're, it's not separate. So anyway, that's just my, but that's only me. That's just kind of my take on it.
I hear you. So, Jed, do you feel there are currently, because obviously every moment we can change based on our experience, do you feel currently there's anything between you and your ability to fully recognize your authentic self?
Yeah, the concept that there is a you that needs to do anything to realize your authentic self. It's the identification with, as Bob said, of the mind self as you, of the ego self, the mind self. It's the concept of that. Look, my favorite koan of all time, I mean, most of you probably know what koans are, but for those that don't, a koan's just simply it's a Zen kind of technique about, it's like, what is the sound of one hand clapping, or if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it fall? So they're designed to tie up the logical ego mind because it can only think in dualities of black and white, good, evil, all of that. So it's designed to give it, as Bob said, in a way, give it a bone to chew on, but the bone itself, it's like tantra. It will transmute the mind into the point where it goes, does not compute, and it sort of ties itself in knots and then falls away, and then true realization comes through. So my favorite koan of all, because to me this is the simple key of our core problem, of all our problems, is the old mongoose in a jar koan. So the Zen master has his students around and he says, if I was to say there was a mongoose trapped in a jar, how would you set it free? And all different students come up with their answers, well, I'd break the jar, or I'd take the lid off, or, whatever their answers are. But none of them, and koans don't have to have one right answer, but in this case, there kind of is one, I think. Anyway, when they're all kind of finished and run out of ideas and all that, the wisest student, who's just sitting quietly waiting, just turns to him and says, okay, I would simply say it is free. And the trick is, the master didn't say, there is a mongoose in a jar. He said, if I was to say there is a mongoose in a jar. And all the others believed in the mongoose in the jar. But the wise student went, this is just the thought that he spoke. And I can say, well, I just say it's free. So that is what our ego mind does all of the time. It's problem, reaction, solution. It gives us things we desire, we need, we want to fix problems, what's never. They're all just thoughts, and we believe them. We believe that thought. We leave being and follow the thought and create it and make it a reality. And then we need to do something about it. So
is there anyone in chat who would have any fears with removing or alleviating anything between themselves and their authentic self? Because I can think of one fear that people may have, including, it's not a fear, but it's like, I wonder if. What if recognizing or being aware of your complete authentic self completely removes you from 3D?
See, this is why I wanted to follow this line of thought about fear. Because there's enough people in this room, I believe, that any one of us could trigger or unconsciously express what the collective fear is. And I do believe the collective of humanity has many fears and many programs, and we do not know what we do not know, as I keep reminding myself of. We do not know what's outside of this illusion. Dee even brought up this morning, what if the Matrix movies, in the Matrix movies, when they show you what reality is outside of the Matrix, it's devastation. It's everyone eating slops in rags, and it's horrific, right? They live in fear. They're hiding in Zion, or they're, wherever they are. That's the reality, right? What if that was even some subconscious programming to tell you that you might be waking up to the fact that this is a matrix, but trust me, it's better than the alternative. And that's the programming that's going in. So whether we know it or not, there might even be some unconscious programming in there that tells us this might be a fucking hellhole of a matrix, but it's better the devil you know. Because we don't know what's on the other side. We think we do. We have visions of something better, but are they ours? Are they what's really on the other side? Or are these just our longings, our dreams, and our whatever? That, I'm not saying that's what is. I'm saying, is that the programming, right, that's gone in? That better the devil you know. Yes, this little matrix might be run by half a dozen friggin' reptiles who are out to harvest your energy and destroy your life and make all of that. But at least you know what you're dealing with, right?
At least we have cute clothes.
Yeah, but at least we have YouTube. And we're still in the process of uncovering what our unconscious programming is. I don't believe anybody has completely wiped themselves of all programming, conscious and unconscious.
I don't either. I don't think that's possible.
So,
in 3D.
But we give ourselves clues and breadcrumbs all the time as to what they are, right? And even with a small group like we've got here, we can start to uncover some of that stuff. So, and any resistance, any what's the word I was looking for? It starts with an A. Trepidation, even, might be something to look at.
Anxiety?
It may not feel as strong as a fear, but it still could be something to look at.
Well, see, I'm happy to do the grid thing, even if, let's say that I was like Jed and didn't feel that it existed, because I would be happy to support it for those who did, so that if they then felt they made that grid go away, then now they are going to become more aware, which is going to pour more positive energy into the collective that I'm a part of. So I could be like a space holder if I didn't effectively feel it existed, for those who felt it did, to help them get rid of it. So I go back to, I believe that every reality that people believe in exists, even if one is completely diverse to the other. They still both are real, because in that person's experience, they are real. So if there's a grid in somebody's, then for them to break through to go to the next level, that's going to energetically support me in the long run, they need to break that grid. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Well, what it sounds like everybody is collectively comfortable with is just removing anything in whatever shape or form it looks like that is an obstruction or a virus or a whatever to us being able to fully and completely manifest the collective and individual world that we want. I mean, that seems to be something we can all agree on, right? And allow your own inner self to see, to guide that and to see whatever you see and take you wherever it takes you. Is everybody okay with that? Work with
I
your own,
am.
work with your own analogy. You know, it might be a grid, it
That's
might not.
great.
It might
Yes.
might be a hard drive, it might not. It might be a wall, it might not.
And Jed, how would you feel about, do you feel comfortable with that? Do you feel that there's something you can work
Yeah.
with in that
He says
divine?
yes, we can each use our own way.
Okay.
Yeah, I just made a comment about my, and this is overall, lately more and more and more what's coming to me, I guess, is the sense of, and I've said it before, in a sense of, we needed to do a certain amount of unpacking, and some of that still needs to be done, which is, in ourselves too. But for me, I think we're passing the point in a sense that yes, you could say in some sense or way, you could say we were all a bit fucked up and we all fucked things up and we all got fucked up and, we were fucked over and fucked with and, all of those fuck words that, I didn't come up with a better word yesterday, post last night. But I think, and so we needed to do a certain amount of unfucking, which is what you guys have been, brilliant at with this show and the round table, like brilliant. And some of that still needs to be done. We're not fully integrated and defragged and everything yet, but I think in a way, the focus we need to take responsibility. The more awareness we have, the more responsibility we have, but not in a weighted sense of weighing us down. It's in the truth of that we have more ability to respond. But we need to claim that responsibility that we are as creators and co-creators. And I think there's a balance. I'm not saying we only focus on the internal. The 3D matrix world and what's playing out there in a way is a reflection of the whole collective consciousness, but it's a balance between within and without. But I think we have such a conditioned programmed tendency to always look without, both for our problems where we're victims and for our saviors. And if you claim responsibility, then anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. My whole point of that was about, I'd rather put my focus on source creation, which is kind of being and doing are one thing. When you're in the now, they're two sides of the same coin. And you can call that just creation. And I would rather put my focus on creating or adding energy to the true internet, which is in us and the connection between all of us, the positive, rather than to decreate, to unfuck or uncreate, because what aligns us with source and our own selves is the act of creation, because that's what we are by nature. That is how we tune into our true being. And so for me, I'd rather put the energy, in a sense, into creating. Even though you could still look at it as clearing stuff that's in the way, I would even, in a sense, say, help me to feel or focus or find more of my authentic self. It's the difference between focusing on what needs to be gotten rid of or out of the way that could be perceived as negative or a blockage, or focusing on that which is already inherently within us already all the time. Anyway, I'm going on a bit, I'm sorry, but that was just my focus. But what I wanted to say with all that is I think the doing's fine. That's from my perspective, my kind of take on it, but everybody will have their own. And if everybody finds or feels a way that they're comfortable with to do this, then I don't see a problem with it.
You know what the funny thing is, Jed?
Yeah.
We've kind of almost run out of time to do a doing.
Oh, sorry. Well, I know.
No, I'm not blaming you. This conversation has needed to be had. But what you just said brought something else up for me too. And that is a couple of things. One is I do believe we have reached the 100th monkey, if you want to call it that, right?
Yep.
And yet, here we are. And there's an aspect of us, of our, whether you want to call it our shadow or our whatever, that I still think we are shying away from. And that is this warrior. We are warriors, spiritual, creative, powerful warriors.
Not worried.
And we haven't stepped into that yet. And there still seems to be some, I'm going to say, trepidation. When I hear a lot, when I hear certain how do I say this? When I hear rhetoric about manifestation and creation, a lot of it comes from this very passive, fluffy space. I don't know how else to say it. Rather than taking the bull by the horns and being a warrior and almost kind of, what's wrong with us demanding? Why can't we, and what are we frightened of? And I'm going to say that word again, of demanding that we have the experience that we want. Why can't we kick some ass? Oh, there is something going on here, and I feel like we're on the brink of uncovering something really big here.
Yes.
Go, Barbara.
Sorry, go, Barb.
Just two quick things. I can envision for the mass populace why the fear or the concern or the issue. Two issues. One is that the reality that you know disappears, whether that means you disappear from 3D or not. The reality would be in Matrix C, where you realize something else is going on that you're not happy with, and who really wants to face that. And the other is, what if in the realization you, to the outer 3D world, look insane, or you can't handle it, or that, not that you can't, I'm not saying you can't, I'm saying the fear that people have that, oh my God, what if I learn it and it's just so much that, like my experience, when I'm like pounding on the table trying to come back, I wasn't really aware of what was going on, but to my son and his girl who are watching me, I looked insane. So I can see people having the fear of not wanting to experience that, or to experience it, to visit that on others. Those two things.
See, Kimberly actually brought it up as well, which is kind of what I was thinking, was that from the time we're born, there's that whole, honor and obey authority figures, and religion has certainly created the ultimate authority figure to be frightened of, because he will smite you and burn you in hell for forever and ever. Do we equate it with kind of demanding something from a parent, or a warrior doesn't have to be, it can be a peaceful warrior, absolutely. It can be a loving and peaceful warrior, but it can stand its ground and insist that this is my desire, this is my intent, this comes from my heart and for the greatest good of all, and this is how it's going to be. But are we frightened of the ultimate authority figure? That someone's going to wrap us over the knuckles and go, who the fuck do you think you are making demands? No one talks to me like that.
Yeah, and is there retribution?
It's just...
I think there's a lot of, from our history, all of the wise women and the midwives and that were burned at the stakes, or the Spanish Inquisition, or I think there's a lot of, individual and collective sort of past trauma or memories of times of having spoken the truth or stood in our truth as well. So I think that's a layer there as well. The one thing, and I'll try and make it really short, but you know me, but the one thing that with all of this, I agree with, I feel like we're right on the edge, like there's something in this and why we're talking about it. And the thing I want to say in a sense is, depends in a way where every individual was at, because I think a lot of the work is, and where a lot of us are at, where we've done a lot of the work of the clearing and the shadow work and all, enough to have tapped in and connected to more our true authentic selves. And to me, it's like the clearing work is just to reach that point, to have that light break through. And wherever that's not in, when you're not at all connected to that, then you know there's some work to be done in clearing. But at all, any time that you can feel even a little bit of awareness or connection to that, then use that energy. So as I say, dance with the shadow, but as the light, not as the shadow. But I agree that there's a period, there can be a point where you're burying, you're hiding the head in the sand, you're denying the shadow, you're not dealing with it, you're not facing it. So there is a point in the journey, and at every point where you need to keep looking at your blind spot in a way and dancing with your shadow. But there also comes a point in someone's journey when they don't, the ego mind will then use that, even the spiritual ego or that path, to keep you again in that loop of the shadow work and dancing with the shadow and what needs to be cleared and what that. So, and each is at a different point in their journey, and it's not even a linear journey for each of us. We go in not circles but spirals. So I can't judge to another and say, you know, some people aren't ready to experience, you know, emptiness. It can freak you out. It can be a wild ride. So it's not for me to try and pull or force someone else into that, or to even judge or know where they are in their journey. It's only for them to know where they are in their journey. And there is a point where you need to focus more in the shadow and unfuck it. And there is a point, though, where you reach and you need to focus on the light and dive deeper and expand that. That's what I'm trying to say. There's different... Depends where you are.
Do you think that we're frightened of fighting fire with fire? There seems to be but if we use their tactics, we're lowering ourselves to them kind of thinking, when is it not just perhaps fighting fire with fire? And if we do it from the light, as you say, that side of us.
Well, what am I fighting for, though? Because just the phrase fighting to me feels like it's counterproductive, because I don't feel like I have to fight my way in. I have to feel my way in.
I guess that was a term to just express the to meet head on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. To meet head on, yeah. The one thing I say is, you know, you're fighting fire with fire. I mean, you don't. As the I Ching says, you know, if you fight evil using its own weapons, you know, you're doomed to fail. You just become so. But it doesn't mean you can't. This is the thing. All of this, it comes down to that. It's not.
But Jed, you just said it.
Go on. Yeah.
You just said it.
Yep.
You don't fight evil with its own weapons, but that doesn't mean you don't fight evil. You just different weapons.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
I agree.
So that doesn't take the fight out.
No, because ultimately, like evil to me is just live backwards. It's block, compressed light. It's just life living backwards. It's, you know, so you fight it you stand your ground, but you bring the light to it, because ultimately, in my take, it's nothing but heavily compressed light. That's its actual nature. That's the stuff it's made of. So if you bring the stuff it's made of to it, what happens is that it starts to transmute very fast back into what it actually is. It releases and expands, and there's an awful amount of energy released. So it's getting beyond the thought forms that lock it into evil and coming back to the source of what it is. And sort of, it doesn't mean it's not about ignoring it. It's not about burying your head in the sand. It's not the light and the love we all fart right. No, it's getting real, but in a way it's getting real to the, it's funny. It's like I said to you, it's like there is no matrix, then, oh my God, what is the matrix? And then, oh, this matrix and all this, how do I get, and then the fourth level is kind of like, oh, there is no matrix. So it's getting real about the illusion in order to go beyond the illusion and get more real. I don't know. So I'm kind of rambling, but there is
Hang
something.
on. For me, see, my experience is a little different, and I feel like whatever these boundaries are, I can transmute simply by just knowing that I can. And it just is once I feel that way. So if for me to take the position that I need to fight or break through or whatever so that I can live the life that I want. It's not. We're making it too hard because I just have to believe it and then know it is, and it's done. So I'm having a little bit of a disconnect with that because mine is just, I know it is and it is, and the rest of it doesn't exist anymore. So maybe we just have to carry this into next week's show and start the.
This idea of destruction, I don't think you can destroy anything. You can transmute it. It becomes something else. But it might look like destruction at first. I mean, how many times have we had experiences or circumstances or situations in our lives that looked like they were being destroyed, but they were just really being altered and changed? Nothing ever really goes or dies is one way of putting it, I suppose. But it's not about destruction. It's just about rearranging things.
Yeah, transmutation.
That's look, that's nailed it in one line. All that rambling I'm trying to say, and you just kind of sent it away. It's not about destruction. It's about creation in a sense, or the 0 point, even somewhere in between. But I would say focus more on the creation of what you want. Somebody said it the other day, simply focus on more what you want rather than what you don't want. We have far more power as creators than destroyers. Destruction is sort of evil. It's lived backwards. Creation is natural in flow. So anyway, I just said in chat, I didn't mean to set the cat amongst the pigeons and make this all complicated.
Yeah, but look at all the gods, all the two-faced gods throughout history. You know, these two-faced gods that are they are creators and destroyers. It's the two sides of the coin.
It's the balance point.
Only creators, and that we should only create, and we should only put our energy into create. Are we? And I'm not saying we are. I'm throwing the question.
Oh, I get it.
That we're not being whole in our ability. Is it part of the creative?
Yeah, I think it's levity and gravity. It's the 0 point. It's the both. So in being, how can I put it? In simply being, which is 0 point, which is in the now moment. All of those terms, right? You're in harmony with the universe. You're in flow. So but what can I say? We're inherently creative in our nature, in that being, but we don't always need to create. And there are those things where it's time for these things to pass away or to transmute. I mean, energy can never truly be destroyed. So I agree with you. I think it's a balance point in a way between the two. But I think to come back to balance, our balance has been in a way so programmed and lost in a sense on focusing on the negative in a sense and destroyed, that maybe the balance is the way home is to focus more on our creative side. I think it's about it coming back to balance. It's been out of balance. But ultimately, I agree with you. I think the 0 point or the balance point is neither, in a sense, it's neither creation or destruction. It's just beingness, and there's an unfolding. But in a sense, you could say with that even in the creation process, there is that which is destroyed. Like, you can't make an omelette without cracking a few eggs. But that's seemingly what is destroyed, in a sense, is process. But you're not trying to destroy this, or particularly create this. Do you understand what I mean? You're just kind of. I do,
but I am so in disagreement with this. That's why I thought maybe we should carry it on the next week, because you're putting energy into, and you're making it so hard, and it's exactly the opposite. If you're trying to stop something or fight something or discontinue something, then you're efforting that. If you want to live a different life, you just put your energy into what you wish that to be, and then that is what happens. The more you put energy into fighting, you're fueling that. Let me give you a really quick example. When I was in college, I thought that I was making these feathers move, and I probably was, but I didn't know what was going on. And I was probably also, not, I can't find the right word without saying what I was doing. And once I recognized I thought that, that I was doing this, I said, okay, I'm going to do it again. And I thought I had to send the energy of, you're going to move kind of thing. And now in the knowings that I live in now, it's exactly the opposite. You do nothing. You just believe it's so, and it is. And that's how the manifesting happens. So that's where that's kind of like the opposite of what you guys are saying. We need to stop this from happening or break this down no, because you're efforting it. You need to stop efforting and as if it doesn't exist. It's over there. It's gone. And I want to live in and then that's what is. So I think we need to talk and flesh this all out more because there's so many different sides to it.
I do too. And I think we'll be continuing this conversation next week.
I agree.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. This turned into a marvelous conversation.
Yeah. I love these because you never know where they're going to go. It's awesome. Please join us again next week. So we can continue this because I think we're on the verge of uncovering a lot of unconscious programming collectively, as well as, I don't know, feels like we're on the verge of a few things actually. But we are over time and I do have to go, and I'm sure Barbara does too. Thank you guys very, very much, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Love to all.
Bye.
Bye.